All right, good evening, and thank you for joining us for tonight's public program here at Virtual CAM. My name is Alexandra Mitchell, and I'm the Manager of Education and Public Programs here at CAM. Before we get started this evening, I want to extend a very big thank you to a few people who helped to make tonight possible, including Smithsonian Sites Organization, the Ford Motor Company, and James Fugate at SOM Books. Tonight's program is the first in a series of programs highlighting our current exhibition, Men of Change, Power, Triumph, and Truth, which highlights profiles of incredible men such as Kendrick Lamar, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, Louis Armstrong, and John Coltrane. Listen in this evening as acclaimed jazz pianist producer Robert Glasper, musician, rapper, producer Terrace Martin, and music journalist Marcus J. Moore riff on these 5 pioneering musicians, plus review their own upcoming projects in this dynamic conversation moderated by Greg Carr, associate producer and chair of the Department of African-American Studies at the illustrious Howard University. Presented in conjunction with Moore's new book, The Butterfly Effect, How Kendrick Lamar Ignited the Soul of Black America. The book is available for purchase via SOM Books, and it premieres tomorrow. So congratulations to Marcus, and we hope that you'll pick that up. Robert Glasper is the leader of a new sonic paradigm with a career that bridges musical and artistic genres. To date, he boasts 3 Grammy Award wins and 6 nominations across 5 categories. Of course, also his Emmy for his song and Ava DuVernay's critically hailed documentary 13th with Common and Kareem Riggins. Evolution is his hallmark. Glasper's breakout cross-album Black Radio changed the face of the genre and set a new expectation for what popular music could be. The album won him the Grammy for the Best R&B Album and established him as a musician of choice for some of the world's most iconic artists, notably playing keys throughout Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly, winning another Grammy for the elastic track These Walls. With boundless innovation and elite techniques as his signature, it's no surprise that Glasper has an avalanche of accolades, awards, and achievements to his name, most recently being asked to play at the 2020 March on Washington with Derek Hodge and funk legend Sir George Clinton. In August of 2020, Robert released Better Than Imagine, the first taste of his hotly anticipated forthcoming Black Radio 3 album. In his own words, Black Lives Matter, and so does Black love. No one wants a life without love, but we have generations of people in our community who haven't had the tools to actually be in healthy relationships. It seems like people are finally ready to open their eyes to systematic racism in this country. And if we're going to talk about it, we have to also talk about how it affects our relationships and how we communicate, how we see ourselves, how we treat each other. It's not always good, even though it could be. Terrace Martin is a Grammy Award-winning producer-musician from Crenshaw. Hey, Crenshaw, who has also been quietly working behind the scenes with the industry's biggest names over the last decade. The son of musicians, Martin developed a lifelong love of music and an ability to flawlessly combine the worlds of jazz, funk, soul, and hip hop. His first solo album, 3-Chord Fold, arrived in 2013 with appearances from Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, Ab-Soul, Robert Glasper, and others. While in 2016, his release, Velvet Portraits, earned him a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Album. To date, he's produced for the likes of Herbie Hancock, Warren G, Travis Scott, and is a main collaborator for Lamar, having produced Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly. Marcus J. Moore is an award-winning music journalist, editor, curator, pundit, and author of The Butterfly Effect, How Kendrick Lamar Ignited the Soul of America, Black America. Marcus is a contributing writer with The Nation and a contributing editor with Bandcamp Daily, a platform which he helped establish. His coverage of soul, jazz, hip hop, and rock can be found, at the New York Times, Entertainment Weekly, The Washington Post, NPR, and Rolling Stone, among other outlets. He has created globally syndicated playlists for Google, guest hosted radio live shows for Red Bull Radio, and curated interviews for Sonos. In September, he released his first musical project, a well-received selection of liberation jazz and soul from his personal collection on Paxio Records. He lives in Brooklyn and is working on his next book, a biography of rap soul group De La Soul called High and Rising. Tonight's conversation is moderated by Greg Carr, as we mentioned, Associate Professor of African-American Studies at Howard University and Department Chair for the last 12 years. He is also an adjunct professor at the Howard University School of Law. He is first vice president of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations and editor of The Compass, the Journal of ASCAC. A former board member of the National Council for Black Studies, Dr. Carr has twice been named the National HBCU Male Faculty Member of the Year by HBCU Digest and has been voted Professor of the Year several times by Howard University students. He led the team that designed the curriculum framework for the School District of Philadelphia's mandatory high school African-American history course, and during his time at the district's program as specialist on race and culture, co-founded the Philadelphia Freedom Schools. His writing has appeared in books, academic and popular journals, and he serves as a contributor to and/or commentator in a range of media. He is a weekly panelist on the daily digital news shows Roland Martin Unfiltered, and a co-host for Karen Hunter's weekly Saturday YouTube series In Class with Dr. Carr. His commentaries on the 50th anniversary of Black Panther Party, and the opening of the Smithsonian Museum's African American History and Culture appeared in the August and September 2016 issues of Ebony magazine, respectively. Dr. Carr's chapter, Reliteracy and African Power in the Trump Era, appears in Not Our President, Third World Press, book-length commentary on the Trump presidency. He tweets at Africana Carr and blogs at drcarr.com. We invite you to follow up on this conversation and joining us in the next series of public programs related to Men of Change next month for a conversation with Dr. Mary Schmidt-Campbell, president of Spelman University, and Dr. Robert O'Mealy, the chair of Jazz Studies program at Columbia University and their English department. And we also welcome you to our family workshop with the Debbie Allen Dance Academy for a hip hop dance class. We also invite you, of course, to use the question and answer feature at the bottom of the screen to engage tonight's panelists in their dialogue, and we hope that you enjoy. With that, I'm going to turn the conversation over to Dr. Carr, and we hope that you enjoy.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for the invitation to be here, particularly with these young brothers. This trio, I say young, relatively speaking. I get to be an old head tonight at 55. But and also shout out to Philly. You know, Alex from the East Coast, so I've known her since she was very, very young. I don't know how Cam got her out to the West Coast, but I'm glad that it did. I mean, by way of the Schomburg and Cornell University, soon to be Dr. Alex Mitchell. So thank you, Alex, for the invitation. And brothers, let me tell you all, it's not only an honor and a pleasure. I can only imagine, for those of you who are watching this, if you haven't gone to the CAM website, to the California Afro-American Museum website, to have a little bit of a look at Men of Change, Power, Triumph, and Truth, you should. There's some important work there, and there's a virtual dimension to it you can see since they're not physically there. But these three brothers right here, you know, when I think about a Louis Armstrong, when I think about a John Coltrane, when I think about some of the brothers who were there, Stokely Carmichael, Muhammad Ali, many people featured, a lot of times we think about them as we are here now, but they really were in the age range of these brothers who are here right now in this conversation. So I'm going to hurry up and get out of their way. Please take advantage of the question and answer function so that you can ask them anything you want. I'm going to try to keep my comments very brief. And so I'm going to go on this Indigenous Peoples Day, by the way. I think the current occupant of the White House put out something on Columbus Day, whatever that is about, but it's Indigenous Peoples Day. Shout out to them. And I was mentioning the new ancestors we have. I mentioned the brother Glasper, who grew up, says Pop, he's taken to the games. The great Joe Morgan made transition today, the great second baseman for the Houston Colt 45s, then the Houston Astros, then the Cincinnati Reds. So shout out to Dusty Baker. Go and get that World Series ring, brother. So let me go right to it. I'm going to drop this out. And any of you brothers who want to jump in, please do. For those of you watching, we had a couple of minutes before we started, and these brothers, I should have known, masters of their craft. They didn't want the charts. They didn't want to rehearse. They just said, look, just ask me the question, brother, and we're going to jump in. So I should understand I'm dealing with masters. That's what y'all watching. So now you about to stop hearing my voice as I ask this first question. The role of creative artists in these moments of social upheaval. Max Roach is not mentioned in this exhibit, but I thought about he and Abby Lincoln, of course, Aminata Masika, as she called herself, and what's the brother, Olatunji, that album they dropped, We Insist, the Freedom Now Suite in 1960. This is 2020, and we've had the disruptions. Big George Floyd, Brother Glasper's homie, Breonna Taylor, so many others have made transition. What do y'all think about, generally speaking, the role of musicians, the role of artists, the role of creatives in moments of social upheaval? And how is that impacting your creative processes? All of you all are in the lab working on projects. Anybody
Freedom Day, Freedom Day.
Come on, brother.
Yeah, that's my joint,
the driver man will be giving me for it.
Oh yeah. Look, I've always believed for everything, music is the soundtrack to everybody's life. You know what I mean? I think music's the most it's I don't know anybody who doesn't have a favorite song.
How about that? Yeah.
I know people who don't have a favorite dancer or a favorite visual artist or whatever but music is something different, because I feel like if I met that person that's like, I don't listen to music, I'll be like, I don't want to know you. But, I just feel like it's a soundtrack. So I feel like, artists, it's our job. We're like the audio journalist of our, of each time period. Like Nina Simone said, how can you be an artist and not represent the times?
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so people look back on that. You could hear what was happening in different time periods through the music, because we're literally a mirror of what's happening in our society and of our generation. That's why I'm so hard on musicians and stuff when people are not reflecting who they are in their time period. They're too busy trying to reflect somebody else's time period. There's a difference between paying homage and not living in your own truth in your own time, and representing what's happening now, because that's what our kids are going to look at too. You know what I mean? So I feel like artists who are truly representing the time that they're in it's very important. That's why I feel like it's just important to be honest as an artist. So the honest artists are very important, because they're telling the real story as it is now. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something we've had for so long. In the face of trials and tribulations and everything, that's literally where our strongest, where we thrive. In the face of it all. From the blues to to jazz, to rock, to hip hop, to all the different genres we've created. It's that's who we are.
Well, we certainly saw with the residencies that you had at the Blue Note, the real time kind of unfurling and commentary in real time on what's going on in the world. That's interesting, brother. I mean, and I want everybody to kind of get around, and then you all, obviously we talking to each other. I'm just kind of here to kind of get the ball rolling. Brother Marcus, when Brother Robert was talking, as you were laying that out, it made me think about how, people say journalism is the first draft of history. And, Robert has just laid out and articulated a vision for, artists as taking on the first draft of what's going on in time and space in a particular moment. And I think about some of the beefs that emerged in previous generations. John Hammond, cats coming for Albert Ayler and John Coltrane and Blue Note, and then the brothers got together and fired back in the pages of Blue Note. But there seems to be something different about this generation. I think about something Herbie Hancock said in that Blue Note documentary. So, the idea of being non-judgmental and creating something of value. As a journalist who's engaged in the first draft of work and who's collaborating with these brothers, y'all done knocked all the genres out. How do you, looking at this work, being immersed in looking at it and commenting on it in real time, how do you see what, cats like Robert and Terrace are doing, man, in terms of being able to reflect the moment that we're in? And of course, Kendrick, because the thing draws, shout out to Brother Jim at SO1, one of the great oldest Black bookstores. They survived the pandemic, brother. So definitely get y'all's book. Go ahead, Brother Martin, please.
Yeah. I think like these brothers on the call, man, like the role of the writer is to be honest, and I feel like we gotta be honest in terms of how we portray what's going on, like, especially with journalism, you have to, I think, especially as a Black journalist, right? You have to make sure that you provide an unfiltered account of what's going on. And so, you just shouted out Esselwan. That's what I wanted to do in the book, because I read a lot of books, man. And I feel like a lot of writers are trying to, you know, they spend 300 pages just trying to show you how smart they are, and they're talking above you. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to do that. Like, obviously, I wanted a certain elegance to be in the book. I wanted it to feel like we were walking through history. So I say that to say, that's how I feel like that's what these brothers are doing. You know, like anytime I listen to their music, it's reflective. It's not only reflective of what they're feeling in the moment, but it's also records that you can go back to 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and get something totally different from it. You know what I mean? So so I'm appreciative of that. And just as a writer, I try to reflect that same energy where it's like, you know, even if I'm writing an article, if I'm writing a feature, if I'm writing a book or whatever, and it's a thing you can't really get with right now, then maybe maybe you get with it 10 years from now, 15. You know what I mean? So I try to operate the same way these guys do. So even though, you know, they create music, I'm writing creatively. So it's you know, two sides of the same coin, I think. So I think that's why we work in tandem, you know. So, and obviously just as a music journalist, anytime they come up with a project, naturally I'm going to engage with it. But even beyond that, getting into other forms of writing, I just try to reflect the same honesty that they do.
It's fascinating, brother. In a minute, I hope we get a chance to talk about how people receive your work and how that influences how you write. I mean, the audiences you're writing to and trying to bring up. I know as a teacher, you all have done so much work, all of you, in communicating intergenerational, in generational ways, that sometimes people who are outside of Black spaces, they don't necessarily have an ear tuned or to be able to hear that or to be able to see the fact that this kind of work is going on, which brings us to Brother Terrence. To bring you in, brothers. It's good to see you, man. You know,
thanks, man. Good to see you too, bro.
oh no, absolutely. I mean, and your kind of cross, you know, I hate to even use the word genre. Alex mentioned Duke Ellington. You asked him about jazz. I'm beyond category, and you clearly are, in the spirit of Ellington, beyond category. You know, as you create and as you kind of absorb the times and reflect the times, you know, you don't do a whole lot of, you know, preaching it, folks. In fact, none of y'all really do. So, I mean, what about your practice, your cultural practice, your creative practice, would you like young people in particular who are thinking about pursuing similar types of craft, what would you want them to learn from the way you've moved through the world in terms of how you create? Because it doesn't seem like you have any boundaries, brother.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I would like to think that the way I create kind of reflects my lifestyle. Like I don't have any boundaries on, you know, on much, except, you know, not really much, just, you know, being happy. You know, and I grew up like that. You know what I mean? I grew up in really heavy gangbang culture in LA. So I was telling somebody, you know, for me, how I was even able to survive and stay alive in LA was not because I played music, or I was into music. It was because I carried a saxophone, and it looked unfamiliar walking through certain hoods with a saxophone. You know, it's silly as that may sound. You know, it was an unfamiliar thing, and you know, I walked with it with pride because it was representing something that was letting me get through the different neighborhoods of LA. When at a time when I grew up on Crenshaw and Slauson, you couldn't go to Manchester and Western. That's only 5 minutes away. I couldn't go to visit my friends, and I mean, I could, but
right.
it was a real mission. It felt like you had to get ready, like to go in a Marine service to go save a life, just to go say what's up to somebody. You know what I'm saying? But how I was able to maneuver through LA, and you know what I mean, because I always dealt with gangsters. I didn't deal with too many artists growing up because it wasn't a lot of artists around. But let me take that back. I deal with a majority of artists. They just didn't realize that they was artists in the Black community. So that's what I should be saying. I'm sorry for saying that, but I grew up with people that had a passion and had love, but they was real ones on the street, and I was raised by such a gangster environment to where I just live by certain things where if you're not honest, you could get hit in the mouth. And it's just that simple. And that kind of goes across the board with my art and everything else, where it's like, why wouldn't I want to be honest? This is the real me. So if I could tell anybody anything, it would be just keep being the best you. Like it'll never be another Herbie Hancock in the world, or Miles Davis, or Ron Carter, or Robert Glasper, or Chick Corea, or Snoop Dogg. It'll never be those. Those are the best of them they could be. So I was always inspiring, man, just to be myself, man. And I always loved myself growing up, bro. Even with no money, getting chased by hopping fences, running from the police, going through the juvenile system young for little gun cases. I always loved myself, and I always saw past the mistake I made. I always saw past that, and that's what music was able to let me do. Like, I could close my eyes and be in the ghetto and hear all kind of shit going on, but I could think of a song and I could time travel, and I fell in love with time traveling and didn't need no money to go anywhere. Just play a song. I fell in love with that. So I said,
like
that all is a result of me just being real to myself, not trying to be like nobody else. I don't care what the next man got, next woman got, as long as everybody happy. And Rob will tell you, I feel like this. I walk like this when I'm on the road, studio. We don't preach so much in the music because we get to these and talk forever. Let me stop.
All day, right?
No. Please don't stop, man. In fact, listen, man. First of all, thank you all. The questions are starting to come in. I'm gonna feed them to you all. I'm gonna ask one other one, and please y'all jump in. Feeding off that, Terrace. You all are all very deeply invested in collaboration. And maybe, Brother Rob, you may have given us the word of the night in terms of honesty, but there's a fortifying effect when you're not alone. I mean, you all are all in a practice which requires a lot of deep, what they call it, woodshedding, a lot of deep individual solo work, but you contribute, you empty that work into collective practice. Y'all love collaborating, man.
Yeah.
So what does that do? And Rob, you mentioned in your opening quote about Black love, and Black Lives Matter. What is the fortifying power? How does collaboration lead or feed honesty? The kind of honesty you talking about, Terrace, you represent because you came out of community. Rob came out of community, Mark's coming out of community. Why are y'all so deeply invested in this collaboration thing, man? I think that's why most people kind of have drawn to y'all.
Right. I think it's the history of Black people. It's tribal. You know what I mean? It's church. You know what I mean? I grew up in church.
No question.
That's our version of a tribe. You know what I mean? Sister Smith smack you in the mouth if your mama not around.
No question. With the ring finger, bro.
Come on, with the ring. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows Sister Smith. You know what I'm saying? So we all had a Sister Smith, and it's just that sense of community. And I think, like people say, it's simple. It's power in numbers. You know what I mean? There's literally power in numbers. And when you find people like, there's no way I could tell my musical story, tell my story musically without the right people to help me tell it. Wow. Train couldn't have told his story without Elvin Jones and McCoy.
Come on.
And Jimmy.
No question.
Miles couldn't have told his,
Alex's homeboy, McCoy Tyner, 16 years old.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Sir. Miles couldn't have told his story without Herbie and Wayne, throughout every decade, all the bands. You know what I'm saying? Miles needed that, because without them, you weren't going to get the Miles It was that plus that equals that. You know what I mean? So it's all about just finding those people who are like minds, who have a story that could be similar to yours or a story that's totally different from yours. You know what I mean? And when you collaborate with them, at the end of the day, you just need people who are forward thinking. That's it. And people, like I said, even if it's not, everybody I collaborate with doesn't have to know a bunch about hip hop or a bunch about R&B or a bunch about this or a bunch about that. It's like, hey, I like what you're saying. I like what you're about. I like your story. This is my story. Let's put them together and see what happens. You know what I mean? And that's how you stumble across something new. I mean, if you cook with just one ingredient, that ain't too, onions is cool, but what happens when I add peppers? What happens when I add this, when I add that, when I add musical gumbo? We gumboing up in here. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. And it's like different flavors. Now you hear, you know what I mean? So it's about that, really. It's just a sense of community, and that's how I grew up, for me, you know.
So I got some folks asking, they want to know, at what age did you all know that you were going to get into the craft that you're in now? I mean, kind of broad questions like that. And you can be thinking about that. But Rob, something you said, man, I just want to drive off that a little bit. You know, you've got a group of people together.
Yep.
Somebody in there has to know enough about what everybody else is about to be able to kind of push it. And I ain't no cook, man, but they tell me gumbo is it roux? I mean, so like it's a foundation. It's got to be. So you know, you all seem to occupy the center of a lot of the collaborations you undertake. How important is it in terms of the craft? And some of the people who are featured in the Men of Change, you know, James Baldwin, for example, who's a writer, but he's friends with Malcolm, he's friends with Medgar Evers. I mean, how important is it for you all to be able to not completely map out, of course, but to be able to be aware of what everybody who's coming into the space brings into the space, in order for you're not necessarily orchestrating it, but there is, I mean, is there a function for occupying the center of a collaborative space? And if so, how do you even think through bringing people together, or is you just let it happen?
I feel like even touching on what Robert was saying and what you just said, I feel like, you know, I look at collaborating or just being, I don't even look at it like collaborating, honestly. I look at it just like my family. You know, like I say, like when you grow up in the hood, you're not calling your homie next, your 7 homies that y'all all grew up together playing baseball. Hey, that's my gang member homeboy. You're not saying that. You saying that's my bro. That's my sis. You're not saying or that's my loc. You're not saying that's my collaborative and gang bang, or that's my gang. You're not saying these things that other people put these words on. You just resorting to everything as family. Because when you think about family, you don't think no separation. It's kind of like people always say, Terrace, you're a hybrid. I tell people, I'm not no hybrid. I do one kind of music, black music. I'm not no hybrid, nothing. A hybrid is 2 different things coming in together. Everything I do just come from the black source. It's all the blues to me. It's all the blues. So it ain't nothing. So I look at collaborating with Rob and whoever I collaborate with, because I only collaborate, I could count on it feels like a lot, but it's really like 2 hands. And it's like, I collaborate with people that totally have the power and the willingness to be egoless walking into a room. So that way, like when you say a center, it's interesting because the center for us is the art. That's the center. We all are just mirrors and canvases of what's going on in the news, what's going on in our life. We're just, and it's just, because, you know, I mean, that's the center, you know, and think about, and you know, to be able to do that, everybody has to kind of, you know, it's like the old saying, if somebody got their own shit, they're not going to come in your house and fuck your shit up. It's kind of like that type thing, right? So you get with everybody that values themselves and knows how to value others. You know, and that right there removes any bit of ego and everything. And that right there, we all know everybody's, like Rob knows all my strengths and weaknesses. I know all his. We know all, that's how we know everybody's strengths and weaknesses without talking about it. We just fill the void because it's not about it. We just fill the void. Whatever one is like kind of loose over there. Oh, bro, that's nothing, bro. Don't trip. I got you, bro. It's the same thing with protesting. Same thing with being from a family, being from a tribe, being from a hood, being from anything, just being together. So if anything, it's just family, bro. And that's why the music come out so easy. It's just family. It's like your cousins, aunties, and brothers, you know.
Wow.
Sisters.
Mark, you shaking your head, brother. You
I was about to say, because writing is the exact same thing. Like writing in and of itself, creative writing in and of itself is an isolated art form. You know, it's just you and your laptop, you and your notebook, whatever. But writers talk to each other all the time. We are in constant collaboration. We're of like minds. So when a project comes out or when something happens, we talk about it too. You know, we have group chats. We have all that good stuff. It's the same exact thing. So when listening to them, it's the same. You know, it's like if I'm dealing with an issue or something that I can't get past, and you know, a thought that I can't pull together, I can, you know, hit up Slack, or I can hit the text and like ask somebody, and vice versa. You know, before the pandemic, we were getting up in New York. We were getting up in LA. We were, you know, if I was coming to your town, I was going to hang out with you, you know, because it's that like minds that y'all were talking about. It's the same thing. It may be one name at the top of the article on the front of the book, but honestly, like Rob was saying, I can't do what I'm doing without the collaboration of other people. And, you know, and I feel like a lot of people look at writing as like under the old school model of journalism, where it's like, oh, I got the story, I'm holding it to myself. That's not the case. That shouldn't be the case, you know, especially if you're talking about art, because at the end of the day, it's about the music. It's about making sure the music goes where it needs to go. It's not about me being the voice on the thing. And so that's how I always govern it. So listening to them talk, I was like, yep, that's exactly it. Like I group text with people all the time. So that really struck a chord with me.
You know, brother, and listening to you, Marcus, and you, Terrence, I mean, first of all, brother, the center is the art, man. Yeah, and I think you're gonna have me retiring the word collaboration. Family is the thing. Yeah, you got. You know, I'm taking notes here now because I'm taking all this back to the classroom tomorrow, bro.
Let me keep it real with you. Sometimes I do get called for sessions where it's more collaborative. It's not family because it is separate.
Oh, make the distinction, man. What you mean?
Okay.
Because these are not your people, in other words.
Nah, watch. Collaborative is if an artist is appreciative of what I do and want me to work on their record, and if I don't even know who the artist is, but they call me for the session, I say, well, let me check out the music. Let me see if I'm into it. I'm into it. Obviously, I don't have time to get to know them. You know, I don't got, you know, me and Robert, we've been knowing each other since 14, 15 years old. Kamasi, 14, 15. So these are like,
yeah, it's your family.
So if somebody else comes in, then it is collaborative. At that point, it's different.
Got it.
And it's I don't have a button with my art at all. If I go, I go. I'm just going. But it is treated different responses and everything. It is different. It's like, it is different. Like I can't do, if I just meet you and we do a record, even though you're the biggest artist in the world, we just do a record. Hey, that was a good collaborative. Like I'm really not even having too many long, deep conversations. Me and Robert may need to do one song. We'll have to spend $20,000 of 4 days of studio time of talking before we get to this 1 5-minute part. But the reason why we just talk so much, so that part could now be 5 minutes. That part doesn't have to be longer because now our souls are exchanged, our energies are exchanged. It's different. So some people that choose to become into the family fold, you can hear it in their music. Some people that just want to be collaborative, you can hear it in that music as well. That's how I look at it. That's not law. That's just how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, but all law reflects is the lived experience as a human being. So to agree that it's a rule.
Well, I guess that's law.
Nah, bro. Yes, sir. No question. No, I'm thinking. You know, there's something in the CAM exhibit. There's the famous photograph of Muhammad Ali in Cleveland. Jim Brown is like, bro, come out here, man, because we understand you're not going to the war. Talk to us. And so you see these athletes, Bill Russell and them. The young cat in the picture is still Lou Alcindor. He's not even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar anymore, which he's going to be influenced by Ali. But they're all together there because Ali is in trouble. Now, in this moment, you know, I'm thinking about the fact that, you know, you put the groove under Ava DuVernay's 13th. And, you know, Mark, you're chronicling the kind of journey of not only Kendrick Lamar, you work on this book on De La Soul now, you know, and the way Terrence just laid this out in terms of making that distinction between family and collaboration in this moment we're facing right now, particularly as Black men. You know, how important is it for the world to see you all engaged in this type of work? I mean, what does it help people to see? And I'm thinking, first of all, of course, about our communities, but not only our communities, other people to understand these are craftsmen at the top of their game. But the most important thing is they're contributing their skills to make a statement. Right. You know, making a statement is secondary. They contribute their skills because they're living life. They being Black and free. But that in itself is a statement. How important is it for y'all to support not only each other, but folks who you might be bringing in who may have been attracted to you because of your craft, in the way that these brothers surrounded Muhammad Ali and said, we don't even really know you like that, but we ain't about to let you be out here by yourself. How important is it for you all to kind of support each other in your work as your work?
Yeah, I think it's super important because we're here because of people like Muhammad Ali, you know. and all of our, you know, Angela Davis, Nina Simone, you can keep going and keep going, because they weren't silent and they used their platforms. That's why we're here. And we know that, especially in these times, you know, young people aren't necessarily so much into they're a lot. Most of the young people are in the club. You know, all their music is in the club.
Yeah.
The music's about the club. That's what it's about. You know what I mean? It's popping bottles with the club. But you know, it's sometimes I feel like it's our duty to say that's cool, but don't forget why you're able to be in the club. You're only able to be in the club and pop a bottle because of the shoulders we're standing on.
Yeah, that's the only reason. At them, though, right? You're not preaching at them.
No, we're not preaching at them.
So how do you?
Exactly, because of what Terrace said. We have these conversations, and the spirit of it and the vibe of it is in there, because that's what it was specifically for. That's literally what that it was specifically for. That, you know how you taste some food and you taste the love in the food. No, you know what I mean? Yes, you taste the love in them greens. You taste it. You know, it's the same thing with the music. You can hear it. You can feel that in it. You know what I mean? And I feel like when you do that, it also, you know, because I would say, you know, I feel like protest music specifically, you know, is music not for the oppressor, but it's really music for us.
No question.
It's music to let us know, hey, don't forget and keep going, you know, and keep your head up, and things to get better, and don't you know, we got to keep it going. We got to keep on pushing. You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah. We have to do that, and so really, like that's what I'm saying. You know, it's not like people listen to music and be like, oh, you know what? I don't hate black people anymore. I love that song. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, music. I don't think music ever changed a racist mind, really. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, it's us telling ourselves, hey, keep going. You know what I mean? It's almost like we make music and play it for ourselves in the mirror. You know, it's like, hey, this is to fuel us to keep going, and you know, that's what it's for. So it's important that we bring all of our family in it and support each other in it, because that's how you keep it going, because we're going to have to keep that going through generations and generations, you know?
So there's got to be, okay, that's interesting. Now, because so far y'all have mapped out really a blueprint in many ways, at least the kind of structure for people to follow, to be able to live in our full selves and to live with that kind of love and fortifying sense of community and family, you know. But to get into a room with you all three of you, you got to have a certain threshold level of skill.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, and you talked about this, Rob, at the very beginning, near the beginning, when you were talking about, you know, the ability to lift people up and to see where they are. But, you know, how do you treat people? And now I'm thinking about those particularly musicians, thinking about, you know, Dizzy Gillespie, Roy Eldridge. You know, they say Gillespie idolized Roy Eldridge, but then it come a time when you got to cut the brother. How do you engage in internal debate, critique, criticism? It's all fortified by the love, but at a certain moment, either you have these chops or you don't. And I guess, Mark, it's probably the same in your skill profession. I mean, how do you approach those moments when you have to be severe in order to elicit that standard that you're used to having?
I'm easy with that. I can't hold my tongue. Terrace the same way. Like, it's like, you know, it's,
you gotta do the work though. Like
yeah,
you gotta do the work. It's like me and Rob came through the jazz channel, I like to call it, but the serious jazz channel, to where part of even playing that music is like you get addicted to learning about history, Black history in particular. You get addicted to learn. You get addicted to, can you realize every big Black moment, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, it was always a cat playing. Like, you always hear a story like, oh yeah, man, Malcolm used to come hang out with Train. You hear I literally learned more about Black history from looking at jazz encyclopedias in 9th grade more than any schools ever taught me.
Take your time with this, brother, because a lot of people who consume you all's work are not aware of what you're talking about right now. Take your time.
So it's the thing of like when you're young playing studying that particular style of music, you transcribe, which is to take something off a record and to copy it, and then you want to know what they thinking, so you're reading interviews. You hoping they say something. You hoping they give you a clue a little bit. You hoping when you read an old Miles article or old Herbie, it's like you fall so deep in love with learning. That's why that music is so. People say they don't like calling it jazz, whatever the case, but hey, I'll say jazz saved my life. The concept of having to learn, the concept of, you know what? If I'm not good enough, I probably won't get beat up like if I gangbang if I'm not good enough, but I'll get lashed, but the lashing will not come. Like if I go to a jam session in 10th grade, I play wrong over rhythm changes. 4, 5, if it's 5 cats gonna laugh at me. But one of those cats, he knows it is his duty as a jazz musician, especially a black one.
Yes, sir.
Each one, teach one. That's when you sign up for this, you have to give it away. Everything you learn, you got to give it away. And Billy Higgins taught me that. Billy Higgins was my mentor, my hero, my homeboy. I used to ditch school every day and go check out Billy and Cedar Walden practice. And I was 15, man, and Billy would say, "Man, how come you not in school?" And I say, it's a holiday."
You sound like Jackie McLean talking to Charlie Parker. What you boys doing down here? Hey, man, we can't see you.
Yeah. Peace out to Jackie McLean. That was my mentor too. Jackie, I met Jackie in that living room on 62nd and La Brea at Billy Higgins' house. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just that, I think it is important to know the history of the music. It's important to know. And I think and for those that maybe don't have the will and the power to go back, because do they make encyclopedias still?
Nah, bro, they got the Google.
I see you with all these books. I'm like, do they even?
Oh, yeah. That's because I ain't got nowhere else to put them, brother. I'm living in an apartment. But encyclopedias, they go to Wikipedia now. They would do.
So, and I feel like that's people like Marcus' job, Robert's job, and my job, to where those that can't open the book and go through the deep depth of the history, our music or his writing will take you down. Because if you a young cat that's loving to learn, and for all young cats, you better fall in love with learning quick. If you're not, that's loving to learn. Our music is just doing what we fell in love with the music to do. It's just gonna make you think. It's gonna make you just want to just see, well, how did this happen, and why do they feel like this, and why is Robert like that now, and the music is like that? Why did Marcus write that? I want to tap on something a while ago with Marcus though, the writing.
No, please.
That's why when you look at the history of musicians, especially jazz music, but musicians in general, all the comedians, actors, writers, and musicians all hang. It's never separate. If you bad, you bad. Whatever you do.
No question.
Everybody respects somebody that went through the ringer to get where they got, because then they know that they value it. Remember I said earlier, if you got something, you're not gonna mess my thing up. And I think it goes back to that, to where it's like, all the cast was hanging out together and everything, man. But to all the young people, learning is so important. And it's like, I know there's no way I could work with Travis Scott, Snoop, Kendrick, Adele. It's no way I could do this unless I read, Herbie played on did Butterfly, and he did the Joni Mitchell record.
Damn.
Oh, so it's okay to be out the box? Oh, wait. So Wayne Shorter did all this straight edge jazz, then did like Weather Report, and then that's him on Steely Dan's record? Damn. Like, so it's okay to stretch the brain, because some people tell us it's not okay.
How about that? That's exactly right.
You got some people, and you got some brothers and some sisters that they've been conditioned to think it's not okay. But I'm here to say it's okay, and we got to just go out the box, and that's what I'm on. Kick over the box, live your life, love the love.
And all the real innovators thought like that. It's always the cats. It's always the cats who were not the innovators that don't want nothing to move, that don't want nothing to change, because then they feel like they're irrelevant. They'll what I mean? It's always when you look at it, it's always the cats. The real cats that want that. It's starting with Charlie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You keep going. We talked to Herbie, sit down, talk to all these cats. They're like, we love other music. Talk to Miles. Like, it's so funny when you talk to Jazz Police. If you ask Jazz Police who their favorite musician is, they'll probably say Miles Davis. But at the same time, how can you say Miles Davis is your favorite jazz musician, yet you're the jazz police. He was the most changing, not giving a damn about staying the same musician. He was I'll call him a walking middle finger. He was the most walking middle finger musician there has ever been. When you think about it, you know what I mean?
Are they trapping him in time and space, Rob? No, when they say that, are they talking about like straight ahead Miles or Cool Jasmine? No words.
I just say Miles. I just say Miles.
But I'm saying them.
Them. When with the police, I ask police. I say, "Who's your favorite jazz musician?" And they'll say, "Oh, Miles Davis." Most of them. And sometimes it's a cool thing to say because they don't really know. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times it's not, and it's like, yeah, but a real jazz, the actual history, because people say you have to preserve jazz. You got to preserve it. There's people living now that we know that are all about preserving jazz. Like, how are you going to preserve some shit that's still living and moving and changing? I can't tell.
Are these the cats that want to keep you trapped in your acoustic?
Yeah. It's like the very core of jazz, the history of actual, people say reserve the history. The actual history of jazz is that it always changes. But so if you change it, you're going according to history. That's the history of it. The history.
That's powerful.
The history is not to stay the same. If you do that, then you're going against the very fundamental beginnings of what it's supposed to be in the first place.
Well, you really just moved us, and you said something near the beginning as well when you said, it's our tribe in terms of this Black experience in this space, this constant remixing. Yeah. That in itself, you kind of force us out of these kind of received notions of time and space. We typically think of the past as the past, but Terrence, when you're talking about, reading and thinking about what previous iterations of people have done and bringing that into your work, you're in a conversation with them. You don't have to be in a physical conversation with them. You're back, so Marcus, when you are trying to capture some of this in print, brother, to leave for folks, are we really collapsing time and space in the sense that, you've become those ancestors? But at the same time, as you say, there's never going to be another Miles anymore. There's going to be another Terrace Martin, Robert Glasper, Marcus Moore. But by embodying the craft, have you kind of erased some of the distinctions between past and present? So when you're writing and thinking about the kind of influences on these artists, and particularly now you got this book on Kendrick that is dropping in a couple of hours. What were you trying to capture in that text as it relates to what he's trying to do? And how does that connect to this kind of process of constant recreation, constant kind of contact with the past, but bringing all that into yourself and then speaking to the future? What were you really after in this book, man?
Man, it's going to sound cliche, but I think it rings true, especially this year, because I feel like 2020 has been 5 years all rolled into one.
No question.
I just wanted to give flowers, man. Seriously, like that's really what I walked into it thinking, because especially in literature, there's this assumption that a Kendrick or whoever has to be a little bit older before you can give them flowers. Huh. Even though you can read a rock bio a million times on the same artist, so we can read a million of the same type artists. But somebody like Kendrick, it's like, it's still it's recent history, but it's still history that needs to be told. He still made an impact with the help of these brothers here. You know what I mean? So it's still talking about how he became who he became. And so if we were to wait on that, we this year in particular, like, we lost Pop Smoke, we lost Chadwick, we lost Kobe. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, why are we waiting? And I feel like with Black art in particular, there's this notion that we gotta wait till they get old. And I don't agree with that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like, even in like pitching this book, and it's only been like a couple of naysayers. I ain't gonna sit here and say it's been like, a groundswell and nothing like that. But a couple of the sort of criticisms was like, oh, it's too soon. I'm like, well,
really?
Not really. Yeah, it's like it's too soon. But it's like, well, why are we waiting for that? You know what I mean? So what I wanted to also do with him, man, I just wanted to humanize the brother. Because what I learned in researching the book is that, he's still dealing with real issues, like we all are dealing with real issues.
No question.
And what I wanted to do, I didn't want to write it for this immediate splash tomorrow. I wanted to write it for 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when there's a next generation that's coming up. Maybe the next Kendrick reads it, and they realize that here's this brother who always had greatness inside him, but he worked really hard at his craft. And now look where he is. So that's what I wanted to do with that. It's like, whoever the next singer, whatever, singer, rapper, you name it, if they read it, they can be like, okay, well, let me just spend time and time and time with this craft to one day get on that level of creativity.
I got it. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know yet if people are pushing back against the idea that, or by saying it is too soon. I'm just thinking about, was it Martin Williams that wrote some of those early biographies? I'm thinking about Armstrong and, even going back and Baby Dodds and them cats, man. You had contemporaries who came right alongside them. And so what all of you all are saying, but Marcus, there were always scribes there.
Yeah.
Now, typically segregation meant that they were white writers who were trying to force them into a thing, or they were black writers that to Terrence's point, were just part of the family that were there. I mean, I think about Dick Gregory, who was here in DC for many years, Baba Dick, and he would say what you said, Mark, we'd all be together, but there would always be some writers there who would be trying to capture some of that. So, let me ask you all about this, and then I'm gonna go over here to these questions and answers. I know we got so a lot of people want to ask. In fact, let me just ask you this quick question, Marcus, as it relates. This brother Wesley Cox wants to know about To Pimp a Butterfly, and I guess it's for anybody, but I know you just finished the book, so I don't know, Robert Terrence, y'all might know this. You would know if it is there to be known. Was Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly partly inspired by Dr. Naeem Akbar's Natural Psychology and Human Transformation? He wants to know about if there's any, what were the sources of inspiration? I don't know if Naeem Akbar's was one. Brother Akbar, who's a retired psychology professor now at Florida State, out of Lee Morehouse, the African-centered psychologist, but they want to know about the inspiration for that.
Actually, that's probably a question for either Robert or Terrace, since they were on the record.
Saying maybe
Terrace.
I feel like,
okay.
I mean, that's I think that's very honorable for everybody to give their, that's the cool thing about music. You can just put whatever story you want with the shit. Like,
no question.
If that was the vibe, that was the vibe. But I'll be straight up, like, I mean, I can't speak for him. I can't speak for bro, but I just know the talks that we all have. Me, Rob, him, Wade, everybody, just the homie, Archie, my cousin Teely. Like, it's about 30 of us that be around. A lot of people don't even do music that we be having around. They just part of the energy. But it's like, and this goes into somebody telling bro that his book is too soon. I can't speak for no other race because I'm black.
Right.
I grew up with all black people. You feel me? I didn't see a white person till damn near the early 90s at high school, bro. Like, and end up finding real allies. But that's a different thing. But with black folks, man, with us, man, we talk about inspiration and all, like, we don't have to go too far to get inspired. Like, we are under attack. We've been hunted down like cattle for forever. But since social media popped out at the time we was doing To Pimp a Butterfly, we could see these things, we could hear about these things, and we still dealing with. We ain't got to look at TV to get affected. We got cousins, brothers, and sisters that's going through what people is marching for, reading about, and saying, I can't believe this happened. We got a motherfucker in my hood like that, like 2 blocks down. So we don't have to look too far to realize this shit needs help.
Question.
And I don't know who Kendrick was deeply inspired by. But what I do know is that we keep consistent Tupac, Snoop, the Dog Pound. Like, we love gangster shit because it was the realest music. It told the realest truth. We are all NWA babies. You know what I'm saying? So that's honesty. We Miles Davis babies, honesty. George Clinton babies, honesty. Malcolm X babies, aggressive honesty. Yes, gangbang babies, aggressive honesty. Like, everything is full level. However you want to do it, it's honesty. Yes, and it's never too late it's never too late to take a picture of somebody while they are alive.
Exactly.
People have this idea that you have to write about somebody when they gone, especially Black folks. I'm sick of that shit.
No question.
You know, I'm with Marcus on right. If you feel like that, write it now, because guess what? I got a homie maybe 13 years old. He about to be 14. Maybe this is going to be his bro's first book. I didn't read my first book till I was in 9th grade, and it was Monster Cody.
Come on, brother.
It was Monster Cody.
Monster.
The gangster book, and Miles Davis autobiography. Back and forth, like
Quincy Troop joint.
Come on, bro.
Come
St.
on.
Louis, Quincy Troop, stop playing. Yeah, come on.
Sir. Yes, sir.
That's one of my good friends, Keon Harrell's cousin, Quincy
Oh,
Troop.
yeah.
I wrote the Miles Davis book, yeah.
That's
Yes,
Keon's cousin?
Yeah, St. Louis, real talk. You know, he
Quincy
told me the
Troop,
story like 20 times. You know what I'm saying? That's how I know it. You know, what I'm saying?
Quincy Troop daddy was a catcher in the Negro leagues. St.
Wow.
Louis, it all goes through St. Louis at one point or the other, man.
So with the Miles Davis book, I was reading that, getting involved, but everybody was gone. But luckily I was reading about Herbie Hancock, where I followed his career. With the Monster Cody book, everybody was alive, so it felt different for me. It felt different. I wasn't reading yesterday. I'm reading an hour ago. It's different.
Yeah.
And to a young Black mind, to a young Black mind from the hood, we're not really tripping on what happened 100 years ago, although we need to be, but maybe things like this trigger that to give us the first initial tool to want to go back. But we need these books. Kendrick is these young guys. Malcolm X. Kendrick is this. And even going back to the club, we was the crew that was sneaking in Black signals with #1 records in the club. #1s, real #1s in the club.
Yes, sir.
But still telling everybody, be loyal, love yourself. Africa, King Kunta. Like, what,
Yeah,
like,
no
you know what I'm saying? So it's like, these are things that need to be recorded now, especially for young Black minds. I'm all with healing the world, but we need help right now. We need help right now.
No question.
We're gonna be all right.
We're gonna be all right. But these songs penetrate the young. It's not. These songs penetrate the young Black mind. They penetrate a certain type of way that other things don't penetrate. It is never too late to write about your brother or your sister that is of any type of power that influences anybody. Anybody that says it's too late, you got to question them. They probably pork. You got to question them.
No question. No question. Well, Marcus, you heard that, brother. The young bull's going to be up there trying to read that joint that had its influence like the autobiography of Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying?
Man, my phone going to be going crazy tomorrow.
Hey, Miss Clarissa Garrett got a question for Terrence and Robert. Want to ask you all, in what area would you like to see an influence change? I feel like y'all kind of been answering that as a running theme along, but if you wanted to see something change, in what areas would you like to see an influence change through your craft? I don't even know if that's a fair question, but I'm gonna ask it because it was raised.
Corporate. I want corporate to change. I want corporate to change. See, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not gonna tell you something. I'm just gonna talk.
No, we good. Hey man, look. You teach me, bro. Right?
Black lives matter on these streets. Black lives. We need y'all to understand. Black lives matters in these offices, though. In these offices. Yeah. All over for every situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was on the Zoom with another company the other day, and they wanted me to help do something and the conversation was good. It was 2 hours. They mentioned the money and everything. The money was good. 2 hours on the Zoom. The money's good.
Right. So it better be good. No question.
And then I said, hey, I just gotta, somebody asked, how many Black people work for y'all? I'm not gonna get into what it was and who it was, but it was interesting, being that Black people really support this situation, and we helped invent everything with this situation. Yes, and they only had one Black person working for them in the storage, in the stock room.
Come on.
Now, everybody got their own thing. But you cannot be a part of this real Black movement unless you really putting brothers in position, sisters in position.
Yeah.
And what I see is a lack of color in the corporate infrastructure. And the corporate infrastructure is where a lot of decisions are made. You see what's going on. We got corporate shit making decisions who's gonna be the president. Like,
come on.
Like we see what's going on. So my thing is like our music, I feel like, and Rob could go on, and I feel like our music is like, I always say, I tell people, man, when people say, you and Rob, you know, I got friends that don't know the me and Rob sound. Man, what type of thing y'all, I say, pop in a record that me and him did, a few of them, and let us just be the soundtrack to your life. Don't look at it as music. Look at me and Rob's music as a backdrop to the struggle and to the success of where you should be. Just look at it as, don't look at it as, you could talk over our music. Let us just give you the fuel to get to the next part of life, brother, sister. And that's what I feel like, you know, even going back to us being all together, all collaborative, all family, or whatever people want to call it. These are all displays and just ideas of what I feel like it should be like in everybody's life, not just art. It should be like in everybody's life. Because once me and Rob get off the piano and the sax and the production, we're not artists no more. We're fathers, man, of black men, black daughters. Like that's different these days, being a father of a young black boy, huh? That's scary.
Yes, sir.
That make you go buy all kind of bulletproof vests, guns, and everything, because it's like this. I can't get no call saying that they took mine. So all this music and everything is really just to be just to build some type of platform that people could breathe, think, and appreciate each other at a very high level within themselves. And you don't need a lot of money to do it.
Robbie vibe with that, brother. That's what
that's it.
Man.
That's it. That's it.
Y'all got this thing down, brother. I mean, yeah. So don't pay the same dues, right? I mean, Louis Armstrong, who's featured in this, I think about what he used to say about what Joe Glazier said, make sure you get a good white man behind you. No, this whole thing this is the moment now. Y'all could kick this whole thing over, man. You are kicking it all over, man. But, you know, after all these deaths, and then you see, has the structure really changed? I mean, y'all are giving people, feeding people to be able to imagine a different kind of world. So this idea then of being able to influence change is in there. So let's go to, let's see, Brenda Williams has the next question. She's asking, she says, 2020, obviously we have access to all kinds of music, and you can program your life to never hear different types of music if you want, with Pandora, Sirius. How do you get popular music to people who curate what they listen to? You know, well, she's asking, you know, how do you get people to listen to other types of music? Or I feel like, I mean, one of the things you all are able to do, of course, people can listen to your music and then use it as a bridge to walk into all kind of different places. So
exactly.
So how do you go? Let me get out your way. Go ahead, bro. Say something about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great time for music. You know what I mean? Because of things like Pandora and Spotify and all that, they still say, oh, well, you like that? Check out this. You might like these artists. You know what I mean? And blah, blah, blah. If you on Instagram, you go to Instagram, you're going to hear a song from this from over here and this artist. And, you know, it's hard to live like this musically now. You know what I mean? It's hard to have the blinders on musically because everything's so in your face. You know what I mean? But I have friends that literally, I open my text and they just send me stuff. Yo, check this out. You know this artist? Because people think I know all artists. They think, first of all, being an artist, being a producer and an artist is like the new drug. Like nobody sells drugs anymore. Everybody sells beats. Everybody got beats.
No question.
And everybody sings, everybody raps. You know what I mean?
So set yourself up because people think you know everybody because you got everybody working with. I mean, you just got to own that, brother. So,
it's my fault. It's my fault.
Yeah, you brought that on yourself.
But it's like, it's so funny. Like, I don't know everybody. Like, I know the people who have already been out here and at a certain level and have done their, you know what I mean? But literally, you could be an artist by putting a song on SoundCloud that's hot tomorrow. And by the end of the week, everybody's like, you don't know Lil 789? Who? Right. He put a song out on SoundCloud last week. You don't know him? No, I don't know him. But now I know him. Be talking about him. But it's funny. I was talking about this, like, back when we were growing up and before, you didn't have an option. You had to listen to what your mama listened to and what your daddy listened to.
That's true.
There was no headphones. There was no iPod. There was no, let me go in my room and just put this on. I had to listen to Aretha Franklin and Mahalia Jackson and Luther Vandross and the Isley Brothers. And you know what I'm saying? I had no choice. That's what we were listening to.
No question.
You know what I mean? So that to me, that's a good thing because it definitely shaped. You know, it's like you can shape your kid to know what good music is.
So are you saying that there really isn't, as your little girl grows up, man, and you know, and Terrence's little girl, I mean, are you saying that? Well, I don't interpret what you're saying. You said what you said, but I mean, is that function doesn't exist anymore? Was that what you're implying?
It doesn't exist anymore, and it should. I feel like this.
Oh, that's interesting. You think it should exist?
I think it should exist. I think that you should have a healthy. When you have a kid, I have an 11-year-old son.
Uh-huh.
He know all the lulls, all the rappers that start with lul. He know all of them.
Yes, sir.
But guess what? He can also tell you the order of all the songs from Songs the Key of Life.
But you made sure of that.
Me and his mom.
Yes.
Made sure of that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So we feed him good music. We fed him good music. He heard it in the house. Boom, 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 boom. And then also he's able to like what he likes too. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, and that's totally fine. My son hates D'Angelo. I don't know where he gets that from. But hey, you know what I'm saying? But he loves
D'Angelo to hate him. He said he loved.
Yeah. But he couldn't go to sleep if Nat King Cole wasn't playing.
Oh well.
We put on Nat King Cole for him to go to sleep, and then he would, if we turned it off, and while he's sleeping, he would wake up and be like, "Daddy, Nat."
It's fascinating.
You know what I mean? So there's a healthy part of it. You know, it's like setting up your kids' diet, what they eat. You're in charge of that.
Yes. You know what? You just answered that question better than Pete answers. Somehow Terrence got a question about Terrence White's got a question about Lovecraft Country. I don't know if y'all watching that, man. They remixing all kind of stuff in that thing on HBO. He mentioned the fact Sonia Sanchez, again, one of Alex's people, Philly, New York by way of Philly. They played her song They played her poem Catch the Fire last night in the episode that was on. They want to know about the fire. Where does the fire come from in your work? And you know, how your inspiration. You've already kind of answered that broadly, but I don't know if there's any other element you might want to bring into it. And then Marcus, I'm going to ask you about, they want to know about your intentions when you set out. Brooke wants to know about your intentions when you set out to write the biography. Were you setting out to write a biography of Kendrick, and what course did it take around that? So question of fire and question of intent, I guess.
Yeah, for me, the fire just comes from waking up every day and just knowing, you know, a part of the fire comes from PTSD, you know, not wanting to be in a certain situation in life again, or doing music to maybe ease somebody that it was in a certain situation in life that maybe I kind of have an idea what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I remember, you know, I'm just so thankful that I'm able to create. You know, I remember when I really made this choice to be a producer or be anything to do this for real. I was in 7th grade, and I remember I was stressed out then because I wasn't that good in school. I wasn't good in nothing. I wasn't good in sports. Wasn't good in school. I wasn't good, so I just didn't know where I fit. You know, and I remember asking the creator, like, man, if you give me something that I could just do for my life, I'll really commit. I'll commit. Like, I don't know where I'm gonna be. Like, I ain't getting no money. I was in 7th grade thinking about this because I was always a hustler though. Yeah. I was always selling stuff. I used to steal a lot and sell stuff. Well, I went to the jail a few times younger for different things, but so I was tired of all that. I was tired of going in and out. I was tired of, you know, just tired of feeling like that, but I wasn't great at nothing. I felt I wasn't, and I didn't feel welcome nowhere except the music, except creatively. So I just committed. I committed, and within that commitment, I got to take the bad with the good and the good with the bad and turn it into something. If I'm living a great life for a couple of months, I turn it into something. If I live something happens strange, if it's dark, if it's too dark, I wait till my spirit gets acclimated before I could turn it into something. But then I turn it into something because that's the commitment I made, and that's the fire. I do it for people that can't do it. You know, I was telling the homie, like, I stopped going on the road. I stopped going on the road like in 2009. You know, I started back on the road just with Herbie, and then Robert and I have a band. But that's it, because I wanted to commit to just staying here and just making making music that would help other people that felt like that, maybe get motivated and something like that. But not only that, man, but I'm telling you, man, for those that's been through the system, I got people that go to jail, in and out of jail, and thinking about suicide and all this other type of things. Like I do music because it was helping my thoughts with certain issues. But I also do music because I know that I feel like my spirit is in my music, and I talk to so many people that they spirit is in my music, and I know that I'm connecting to a certain thing. Like I'm connecting to the guys in the prison, the sisters in the prison. I'm connecting to the folks that says, you know what, I'm not thinking about suicide, or me and my wife, or me and my girl just got back together, or me, or you know what, I was this and that, because I've been through everything. I've been through being a whack father, an okay father, and a great father now. You know what I'm saying? I've been through being a total fuck up in the streets, illegal shit, gun cases, to then just selling guns, to now no guns. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen all these different steps. I've not known how to play a certain tune, all the things you are, to knowing it, to now I just don't play it. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these different steps of life that I feel the music is in, but that's the fire. The fire is I'm addicted to change.
Come on, brother. Come on.
I'm addicted to change, but I'm addicted to challenges too.
Yeah.
Because with challenges come overcoming, come blessings, and it's ultimate. It's ultimate.
Yes, sir. I think it was Monk that said, the only wrong note you play is when you stop playing.
Yeah, come on.
Just keep going until you resolve the chord, brother.
It's true. But it's a few other wrong ones though. But that's wrong. Yeah, I don't want nobody kind of looking at this just pulling that. Monk knew a lot of Monk knew everything before he could say that.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, but you raising something that's very, very critical though, brother. I mean, the idea that as long as you're alive. In fact, you know, it's funny. The Roman poet Terrace is the one who's attributed to the phrase where there's life, there's hope. So I mean, the whole idea that you learning and moving at the same, man, this is brilliant. Opio Ko has a question, Marcus. So Opio said, I heard Marcus spent time in Africa to write his book. What role does Africa play in each of your work? But I guess Marcus, we're going to start with you, brother. So,
man, I didn't realize how much I needed Africa until I went there. I wrote like 60% of the book in Nairobi, Kenya. My wife and I live in Brooklyn, but we also got a spot in Nairobi. And it was, when you're living in the US, you get a certain narrative of Africa through the news. You know, you click on the world tab on New York Times and whatnot, it's all death and despair. No one knows what's going on. You don't really get the true sense of what's going on until you get there. But when I got to Nairobi, man, I realized that, I mean, you got some groundbreaking writers, creators, designers, everything. And nobody talks about these people. Nobody talks about Kenya as like a destination. And so when I got there and I started writing, again, just to, maybe it sounds corny or cliche, whatever, it reminded me of, especially that moment at To Pimp a Butterfly, where, before To Pimp a Butterfly, when Kendrick went to Africa, and then he comes back and he's like, I need to, create this kind of record. So it's a weird thing, man. It's a weird thing. You can't really describe it until you get there, until you touch down and you spend some time.
That's true. It's true, ain't it?
Until you spend some time. And especially with me also living there, I've been back in New York for a week. It's something else, man. It's really something else. It's just a thing. You just got to get that plane ticket and go over there, man. And I think it was also another question about intent, though, right?
Yeah. Jump into that. Yeah. We said when you set out, what were you intending to do setting out, and how did it change as you got into the work, brother?
Well, the original intent of the book is the same intent that I have with anything that I write. Like, I just want to give people stories that they don't know that they need until they get it. So I don't want to just tell the same story over and over. I never felt like anybody needed my voice on, like, the big names and whatnot, because everybody's vying for that feature and that review and all that. So I just wanted to, again, even though he's a huge name, I mean, he is Kendrick Lamar, but it's still a story that makes sense to be told in literary form. It's still a story that needs to live on a bookshelf. And so my intent stayed the same throughout, because it's the same thing, like even with my like freelance work. I'm never gonna pan a record. It's too much good stuff over here that needs to be written about. So I want to talk about these brothers on the call. I want to talk about, other cats that I love. And even in writing the book, I've been asked a couple of times, like, what kind of books was I reading when I was writing it?
Huh.
And it kind of trips people out where I'm like, well, no, actually I was listening to records. Like there were certain records that helped me with the cadence and the pace.
Talk to us about that, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, at the time, I guess it was like 2018, I was really into, it's this drummer, producer, this brother named Micaiah McCraven. He had come out with this album called Universal Beings that I just loved. And it was sort of similar. It was similar to what Rob and Terrace do, where it's like their names are on the front, but it has all these different people in it. So on that album, you had like Nabaya Garcia, you had Shabaka Hutchings and Junius Paul and all these cats. And I love the pacing of it. So that's what I mean when I say that. Like different records were inspiring me. I was listening to Gina Quelle's Everything's Fine record, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, it's these two people, but look at all this stuff that's going on underneath it.
Gotcha. Okay. And let me ask you a quick technical question, Marcus, from Brenda Williams. Will the book be available on Audible in the future? Any plans for? They already want.
It will be available in we're on the East Coast, about 3 hours.
Okay, so you can get this on Audible too. Oh, you dropped the full spectrum dominant. Okay, very good.
Oh no, we're not playing. We're not playing, bro. We're not messing around, Joe.
That answer by Africa Man remind me of our man, the new a fairly new ancestor, a former Brooklynite as well, the great Randy Weston. Baba Randy used to talk about that a lot, about being in Morocco with the Guanaba people and those African rhythms. So I don't know, Rob, Terrence, if y'all want to jump in on the Africa piece, man, is there any influence directly? I mean, I suppose it's all coming out of Africa at some point, but
I as far as my music goes, I love
any kind of way you want to take it, bro.
I love Fela.
Oh, no question.
Fela Kuti. I've been down to Lagos a few times.
Oh, you went to the shrine?
I went to the shrine.
You went to the shrine?
I actually produced 2 of Seyon Kuti's albums.
Oh yeah.
Fela's son. You know what I mean? So I was in there. We was with 80% of Fela's original band. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
And it was like, it was deep, bro. That joint, that really influenced me a lot. Just being there and being amongst those musicians and just feeling that.
Yeah.
And then they cooked. The wives cooked.
Oh.
While we're recording.
No, come on, man.
So on the breaks, we would go eat. Come on, man.
Come on.
The motherland will take care of you, bro.
Look.
They'll take care of you all day.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. No, like for sure, Fela, and even more directly, man. I played for years with this amazing guitar player, Lionel Leweke, who's actually in Terrace played with him. He's in Herbie's band. He's been in Herbie's band now for 10 years? I've known Lionel since before that. We used to play a lot in New York and stuff like that. My brother. And he's from Benin. He's from Benin.
No.
And man, man.
Spirit, but he bringing the heavy shit.
Shout out to Lionel. I got a chance to work with him a lot. I produced one of his albums called Heritage. And yeah, he influenced me a lot too. His music and so not only is it in my veins already, in our veins already, but I have some of those people like that I directly deal with that totally influenced me for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Man, y'all, man. Look,
Definitely.
this has been a master class. I know Alex is gonna jump on in a minute because we're supposed to be winding to a close. All right, let me get this question in from Shamara, and this is for everybody. And you kind of gestured to it already, Marcus, with some of the stuff that you were listening to as you were working. What are you currently reading and or listening to? Now, I know Black Radio 3 can ready drop, so I mean, I'm assuming it. Some of that stuff you listen to each other, but I mean, but is there anybody, you know, as y'all are working, that y'all are, you know?
Man, I love, man. I get asked that a lot, and I never am prepared to answer that question.
Me either.
But no, I know. It's like, oh, what are you listening to? But no, I love. What am I listening to, bro? It's this artist named Pink Seafood who came up with this album this year called Negro. That joint is crazy. Oh. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's like jazz meets, I don't know, Sun Ra meets Art Blakey. I have no idea, but it's incredible. So I love that joint. I thought Anna Wise put out a really, really good record last year.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she put out a good record last year.
Oh.
And one more, Junius Paul, man. Junius Paul is this bassist from Chicago. Came up with a dope joint.
Word.
Okay, I don't think.
I'm listening to, wait, what was the question again?
No, anything you listening to right now, reading, listening to, you know, taking in is kind of influencing your creative process, or just stuff you kind of encountering right now?
Right now, I'm like on podcasts right now. Like, I love the Joe Budden podcast.
Yes, sir.
I love Gilly and Wallow's podcast out of Philly.
Yeah.
You know, they got a good one on, just came out last night with 2 cats from LA. One cat named Big U, which is a cat that's from my neck of the woods. One of the positive leaders in that community, making sure everything is peaceful and everything cool. And then that's a good podcast. If anybody wants to know any history of Los Angeles culture, gangbang culture, it just came out last night. This is one of the best ones I've heard by people that's actively in the field, not in the field no more. So really podcasts. As far as music, I keep listening to I'm listening to, you know, I got the Isley's Greatest Hits. You know, it's like Isley's Greatest Hits, and then it's all the way to like Travis Scott, or then it's all the way to, man, what's this dude from Detroit? Son, do my dance. Oh, what's his name from Detroit? I can't think of his name. He's on Big Sean now, but I've been listening to just random stuff that come up on the playlist, man. But I try to stay listening to what's going on with like the youngsters, like 18 to 22. Even if I don't get with it.
Yeah.
My job, I'm not listening to critique. I'm listening to learn and just see, can I get down? If I can't get down, I can't get down. But I got a cold-blooded youngster I'm training named Kid, producer, that get down with everything. So if I can't get down, Kid got it, you know. So I'm just steady, just listening. Kind of my age and people my age, and me and Roz, I'm really not listening to us. I think those ideas are old. I'm listening to these new ideas and these new perspectives right now. What's going on? You know, me and Rob always say, man, it'd be 5 of us in the room, man. Me and Rob be the first ones like, okay, what can we do awkward here to make this not so old? Like, because, you know, it's you know, being old is not being bad to be old. But my thing is to really attack and to be aggressive with the youth, you got to come with a certain energy that older cats just don't be coming with. That's why I don't be hanging with them, because they be tired and boring. But the youngsters be like, yo, T, it's fucked up out here. Police is killing us. They tripping. And they ain't talking about marching, the people I know. The youngsters I know from the hood, they like, they tripping, we tripping. See, so I deal with a different reality. So it's like, I'm like, listen to this dinner party and just be cool.
Exactly.
No question. Adam Keeley chimed in. Alex getting ready to take it. He said, is it Sada Baby you talking about from Detroit?
Sada Baby!
That's what,
hey, Detroit, stand up.
Oh, you crazy.
Detroit, stand up.
That was from the Q&A. That was okay. Hey,
Sada Baby. Y'all, his song feels so, hey, Rod, listen to this song, make you want to dance, bro. He from Detroit.
Word.
He talking that shit, bro.
Word. Send me his name. I'm gonna check it.
Sada Baby, yeah, all right.
I'm gonna bring our sister back in. I want to thank you all as a teacher. I'm telling y'all right now, this was a master class. I'm looking forward to sharing this broadcast with students. I'm talking about whatever they're into, whatever their majors are, whatever their work is, because y'all just gave a master class on the craft. And I want to say I'm grateful to have been able to hear this firsthand and to see you all moving through. So,
thank you, brother.
Thank y'all, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Sure.
Alex?
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us and being in such great conversation with us here at CAM this evening. You all are such shining examples of community and culture. We're really honored to have you all with us and with our public this evening. Please do check out the dinner party. Please do, of course, check out the Butterfly Effect. Congratulations to Marcus on publishing day tomorrow.
Hey, bro, congratulations, bro.
Yeah,
Congratulations, bro.
Thank y'all, man. Appreciate it.
It's not every day a young black man write a book about another young black man.
Come on, brother.
That's big, bro. Hey, that's big.
Spread the word. Spread the word, please. I need it.
About another young black man that's alive.
Right.
Please
Sorry about that.
Via SOM Books. It's available online via SOM Books. Of course, Marcus also mentioned Audible if you prefer to listen to it. We, of course, can't wait to have you back at the museum to show you Men of Change in person, a really incredible exhibition that we really think is going to impact you all as a viewing public. Also, we shared a recent playlist with the LA Philharmonic for Power to the People, which I curated. So please check that out. That's also available online as of, I think, yesterday. And have a great night. Thank you all. Be safe and be awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
A lot of water.
Thank you. Thank you. For sure.